Orange Springs ago, our men and women marched triumphantly into the menacing clouds of battle in the Middle East. Some of you may remember standing in the desolate stretch of land with the sound of gunfire singing in your ears, while others simply watched the events unfold on your television screen. It was announced that America will no longer foresee any more trouble originating from the Middle East. Yet only 1 month ago, our streets were painted with 11 bombs planted by ISIS members. America, a nation of power and possibility, is running out of time as we know it. This country doesn't settle in the hands of the timorous, but the lion-hearted. Today, the threat of terrorism is progressively burdening the back of America. The prolonged history of this world, few times have we shrunk down the side of fear and violence. Rather, we stood upright, driven passionately with the promise of freedom and faith. America's strength and spry spirit have vigorously tested the last year as numerous attacks have been initiated on our soil. The same soil that but not 240 years ago our ancestors shed their blood on the promise of the people of today, the ceaseless gift of safety and independence. We are still protectors, we are still proud, and we are still pioneers, but we have let ourselves fall victim to the vicious antics of the world. However, I will not sit back and let the blood of my fellow Americans trickle down the stairs of despair. This is a battle of which the dubious will not prevail, and I am willing to put forth prodigious effort to ensure the safety of American life is no longer dangled on a faint string of hope. This includes our precarious border situation. Our boundaries are being penetrated into thousands every year by illegal immigrants who usher in drugs and generate sizable amounts of crime. America is still home to all who wish it to be and will continue the tradition of embracing minorities with respect and ample opportunities as to the possibility to fulfill the American dream. However, our welcoming hand has been taken with discourtesy by those who have transcended our borders without respect of our policies. Our safety stands with great insecurity. Places in the world most pertaining to Europe, such as Norway, have the most rigorous border policies. It is harrowing to reveal that America does not hold a candle to the expected border security of alternative nations. As a haven, as a home, and as a hero, we cannot afford to let the masses shift their way into our promising nation illegally. The hands of the clock are gaining on us, and the seconds count more now than ever. To my dismay, our country's problems don't stop there. Military-grade guns have wandered into the hands of malicious felons. Our clubs, streets, and churches have been remorselessly battered with radiant gunfire. It is left to me, as the upcoming president, to ensure that our citizens are able to protect themselves from the barbaric attackers that have plagued our nation. It has been their American right to bear arms from the beginning of this great country. I refuse to take that right away. Just about 2 decades ago, a man by the name of George Henner shot 44 people, killing 21 of them. 2 of them being the loving parents of Susanna Gratia. Susanna was never a fan of guns, but in her early 20s, her friend had given her one for protection in the city. On one haunting afternoon of 1991, Susanna and her parents went out for a pleasant lunch at the Luby's cafeteria. Susanna was told she would not be allowed to bring her gun in the diner. Just a few minutes into lunch, the savage man stormed through the doors of the kind cafeteria and began to mow down people with his gun. For 30 seconds, Susanna had a clear shot of the man. As she reached for her gun, she was met with the cold grasp of nothingness. She had instead watched as the man turned to her parents and shot both of them. Susanna could have saved her parents and many other lives that day, but she was denied her rights. The people who use guns for gruesome crimes will find a gun. However, those who need it for their protection have have lacked it for a long time. If I am granted the great duty to protect this wonderful nation, I will with no doubt make sure every citizen in America has the option and right to protect themselves from the growing, fierce and furious world that engulfs us. Safety, however, although it being a tremendous problem now, is not the only chief complication that faces us. Our economy is currently staring into a few of its darkest days. Businesses are fleeing our country like birds in a frigid winter, and jobs are dropping with post-haste. It was not many years ago when our country was flourishing with economic success. History is the greatest teacher to man. If we were to see 20 or 30 years ago, we are greeted with an incredibly strong, stable, and exceedingly sprouting economy. So why do we fail to revisit the golden ages of America? It starts with keeping our greatest profiting businesses here, planted directly into our nation. Our regulations and taxes are shoving productive businesses out of our country without hesitation, and money is spilling into opposing nations. We must start by allowing the great entrepreneurs of America to develop, by loosening up on restrictions and taxes. This contributed great production in times of Reagan's presidency, and one of the greatest known to our nation. The stimulation of the economy will bring us booming profits and countless jobs for our American people. Along with this, we will also learn that our healthcare system is immensely flawed. Obamacare has left many Americans without healthcare, the opposing outcome of its original intent. In our optimum days, businesses and unions provided this luxury, ensuring a multitude of American citizens with healthcare. To return these days, we must reintroduce tax incentives to large corporations. I would assure that our children will thrive in the incomparable America that is on the brink of transpiring. Along with prosperous health care for the youth of our country, our schools will also see drastic changes for the better. Children are no longer allowed to pick where they would like to go to school these days, but I will take charge and reintroduce the school voucher. It has never been the government's job to make personal decisions for you, and to allow the government to do this, you are giving up a copious amount of your freedom, something that defines this great nation. I will proudly stand by the dream of freedom and faith. Still, however, our children's futures are endangered. Their eyes may never graze the great views this country has to offer. Our awe-inspiring national parks must remain to be relentlessly protected, and we must continue the road to cleaner energy. We have the vital responsibility of preserving our environment for the future, and we will not deny the young generations a safe and clean world. All of these points may seem so unfeasible and remote along the hills of hope, but I will not stand idly by and observe a wonderful nation fade away in the dark of the immoral independent. The clock may be ticking, America, but we have the grand choice to save this unsettled nation from its foredoomed prophecy.